Hello friends, before we start the video, I want to tell you that if you like my content, you can subscribe to my channel. By doing so, you'll greatly help promote my channel. Thank you. It was a beautiful day in Texas when Sarah, a young college student, decided to buy a new laptop. She found a good deal on Craigslist and set up a meeting with the vendor. Little did she know that this simple decision would change her life forever. When she arrived at the address, two men dragged her into their home, beat her, and robbed her. The next thing she knew, she woke up on the sidewalk, bruised and battered. Sarah had arranged to meet the vendor, whom she had only talked to through messages, at a residential address. When she arrived, she was greeted by two men who invited her inside. They showed her the laptop, and after a brief conversation, things took a turn for the worse. One of the men grabbed Sarah by the arm and dragged her to a back room, while the other shut the door behind them. The men demanded that Sarah give them all her valuables, including her phone and wallet. When she hesitated, they started beating her with their fists and a bat they had grabbed from the garage. Sarah tried to scream, but the men gagged her with a piece of cloth. After the beating, the men left Sarah unconscious and bleeding on the floor and took off with her belongings and the money she had brought to buy the laptop. It was a passerby who discovered Sarah lying on the sidewalk and called 911. The ambulance rushed her to the nearest hospital where she received medical attention. The doctors found that she had suffered a concussion, multiple bruises, and a broken arm. Sarah's parents were informed about the incident and they rushed to the hospital to be with their daughter. Meanwhile, the police had started an investigation into the robbery and assault. They tracked down the address where Sarah had gone to buy the laptop and found the two men responsible for the crime. The men were arrested and charged with robbery, assault, and kidnapping. Sarah's recovery was slow, but she eventually healed physically. However, the emotional scars of the incident remained. She struggled with anxiety and PTSD for a long time after the incident. She had to take time off from school, and counseling helped her deal with the trauma. The court case against the two men responsible for the attack went on for months. They pleaded guilty to the charges against them and were sentenced to long prison terms. Sarah's parents were relieved that justice had been served, but they knew that their daughter would never be the same again. The incident that occurred in Texas in 2019 was a harsh reminder of the dangers that exist when conducting transactions with strangers through online platforms. Sarah's story is a cautionary tale for anyone who thinks that they can trust people they meet on the internet. It is important to take precautions when buying or selling anything online and always be aware of the risks involved. As for Sarah, she eventually returned to school and finished her degree. She still struggled with anxiety, but she was grateful to be alive and to have a supportive family. The incident had taught her to be more cautious and aware of her surroundings. She hoped that her story would help others avoid the same fate that she had suffered. It was a bright and sunny day, perfect weather for a day at the beach. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore was a soothing background noise as Mia Rodriguez gathered her things to spend the day surfing. She had been surfing since she was a little girl, and it was the only thing that made her feel alive. Mia Rodriguez was a talented surfer with short blonde hair and piercing blue eyes. She was only 23 years old, but life was a roller coaster ride for her. She grew up in a wealthy family, but her parents died in a tragic accident when she was very young. To cope, she took up surfing, and it became her passion. On the morning of August 22, 2019, Mia received a text message from a man named Jack Thompson. He had seen her surfing video on one of the online platforms and wanted to meet her and talk about the details of buying her board and spending time together, since they had chatted a bit after he texted her. Mia was hesitant at first, but Jack seemed nice enough. After some negotiation, they agreed to meet at a surf spot in Malibu. Mia arrived at the beach and Jack was waiting for her in the parking lot. He was a tall man with a charming smile and a friendly demeanor. Mia felt at ease and they hit it off right away. They spent the day surfing and getting to know each other. Mia had a great time and agreed to meet Jack the next day and sell the board at a bargain price, since she had looked out for a new one. The next morning, Mia arrived at the beach early in the morning, but Jack was nowhere to be found. She waited for hours, but he never showed up. Mia was disappointed, but decided that Jack had changed his mind. As she was packing her things to leave, Jack suddenly appeared out of nowhere. He looked different. The smile was gone, and there was a cold look in his eyes. Jack demanded that Mia give him her surfboard, which cost thousands of dollars. Mia refused, and then the situation took a turn for the worse. Jack's face turned into a mask of rage, and he pounced on Mia. She fought back as hard as she could, but he was too strong for her. He struck her several times, and she felt consciousness slipping away. In her last moments, she thought of all the things she wished she had done differently. Jack realized what he had done and panicked. He took her body to a secluded spot near the mountains and buried her in a shallow grave. He thought he'd gotten away with the perfect crime, but he was wrong. The investigation into Mia's disappearance began when her friends reported her missing. The authorities soon discovered that she had been seen with Jack on the day of her disappearance. They tracked him down and questioned him. Jack denied involvement at first, but eventually broke under pressure. The police managed to find Mia's body in a shallow grave, and Jack was arrested and charged with her murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The tragedy of Mia Rodriguez's death shook the surfing community to its core. Her friends and fellow surfers were heartbroken, and the incident brought attention to the dangers people face every day. It was a stark reminder that life is fragile and that anything can happen at any moment. As the sun set over the beach, the memory of Mia lived on in the hearts of those who loved her. Her tragic story will never be forgotten, and it will serve as a warning to others to be careful and always watch themselves.